Heading Auburn, its worst non-conference home loss since 1982, and it was really dominance on both sides of the ball. We saw a lot of offense in that highlight, but the defense was exceptional as well.
Yeah, complete team. But who goes to Purdue in a blackout and wins there, and then who goes to Auburn and wins down there? I mean, this Penn State team could be really special. 245 rushing, 232 passing. I mean, that's about as balanced as you can get. Defense gave up a bunch of yards, but only gave up 12 points. I mean, what Penn State did and the talent they have in the backfield and the way they got the running game going, it's extraordinary.
To me, what was really evident is the job that they've been doing recruiting and also developing the players that they have there now. Manny Diaz, I think, has done a really good job of really getting his defense installed and getting the players out there playing, because they were playing really fast today. You really saw just the type of athleticism and speed that they have on that Penn State defense. It was front and center. And yes, you mentioned the yards that they gave up, but there were so many times that they were just so disruptive in the backfield, forcing the quarterback up in the pocket, making errant throws, sacks. This defense is going to be special. They've got a chance. What they have to battle is they need to play like this every week, because they have now set the bar at such a level that this is going to be the expectation that we expect out of them each and every week.
Yeah, and they've done it twice. Again, the Purdue win was a big win. I mean, that was tough. That was as tough an environment as they were in today. They just played better today.
Probably a better team, frankly.
Yeah.
Purdue might be a better team.
Yeah, might be. But it's impressive.
Yeah,
Fast
no
start.
doubt. Again, 6 sacks, 11 tackles for loss. You were talking about the disruption, forced 4 turnovers. Really impressive win for Penn State. They've got Central Michigan next week at home. A couple weeks down the line, Michigan looms. We'll see whether or not Penn State and Michigan can head into that one with both teams undefeated. Let's run you through some more games from the teams at the top of the East. Ohio State and Toledo. Travion Henderson here, 7 yards for the score. He would not return after this play. Went off to the locker room, so that's not necessarily a great sign. C.J. Stroud here to Marvin Harrison. Goes up and grabs it. Harrison Jr., 6 receptions, 102 yards, and 2 TDs. And then it's C.J. Stroud. Good to have Julian Fleming back out there. 5 touchdown passes for Stroud. His 9th career game with 4 or more. Only J.T. Barrett has more as a Buckeye. And then it's Harrison Jr. again for the score. Ohio State 77-21. Reaction starting with Ryan Day.
That's where you make your money as a quarterback, is in the red zone and on third down. We talked a lot about staying on schedule and making sure we didn't have any 3 and outs in this game. That was important. Certainly the penalties were something that were lingering coming off of last week. So a lot of things. We still got a long way to go. But I thought the offensive line played physical, and they practiced that way this week. So it doesn't surprise me they played that way. But I thought we did a good job up front. Next week we got a conference opponent, so everything's going to be even harder. So usually we wait till Sunday to move on to Wisconsin. We'll do that as we leave the stadium tonight.
Yeah, I think we were clicking. Coach Day's message this whole week was just starting early, just trying to be more consistent with the ball. When we start with the ball, which we chose to do this game, and I'm not going to speak on that, but so we come out. Connect on a couple throws, and I definitely think that got our juices rolling. Trey punches it in, and then at that time I think we're rolling. And then I don't think we punted until that third quarter. So I definitely think that we started early, which was a great thing that we wanted to accomplish.
They were rolling offensively for sure. It is the 5th time this century that Ohio State has scored 75 or more points. That is the most of any team in the country. The offense looked like a machine here for much of the night, Howard.
They really did. And you look at their third down efficiency, 11 of 13. That's pretty good. And they were really moving the ball. They were able to get that done in the running game. They were able to spread the ball outside and get it to those wide open receivers who continue to make plays for them. And I think that's what you need to be able to do when you have a team that you're outmatching. You should be able to go out and dominate. And that's also showed up when you talk about penalties. 1 penalty for 5 yards.
Ryan's really conscious about being balanced offensively. He talked about the I formation in the red zone, how physical they were. He mentioned the offensive line in the press conference. So they're clearly explosive, and I think he just wants to make sure that they continue to be physical like they were at the end of the Notre Dame game when they just took the game over in the fourth quarter. I still don't know where they are defensively. Not for any other reason other than they really haven't been tested. It's easier to evaluate an offense against better personnel than it is to evaluate a defense when you're better than the offense you're playing, because you can just smother them. Yep. You can be out of a gap but be faster. So we're still not going to really know about this defense a little bit until we go down the road a little bit. Plus, people will get to see Knowles' scheme, and they'll be able to game plan for him the further we get down the season.
One positive sign on that front, they did force their first 2 turnovers of the year. We had talked earlier in the week about the fact they were one of only 8 teams in the country that had not forced a turnover to this point in the season. So got a couple there. We'll see. They get Wisconsin next week. Really big game. One of those first big games that we'll see in conference play this year. But again, Ohio State still perfect at 3-0 after throttling the Rockets. How about the number 4 team in the country, the Michigan Wolverines, taking on UConn? Blake Corum had himself a big day, Howard.
Really outstanding day by him. 5 touchdowns on the day, but did a really good job of running the ball inside and out. And the offensive line did a great job today as well.
And there's your guy, A.J. Henning.
Yeah, A.J. Henning getting it done in the special teams field. And, he's been banged up a little bit, but he clearly is 100% right now. Give a lot of credit to the team that's blocking as well. They did an outstanding job today.
31-0 at that point. Then it is Corum again. You mentioned 5 rushing touchdowns, Howard. That ties the school record. 59-0 the final. Largest home shutout win since 1975.
I don't know how good we are. I feel like we look good, but we haven't faced no adversity yet. You know what I'm saying? So, I really don't know how good we're going to be. I feel it. I feel like we're going to be great. You know what I'm saying? But I can't tell you. But I'll tell you, by the look of things, the sky's the limit for this offense.
Just the improvement, seeing it so many different areas of our team, even from game 1 to game 3. Guys that are, they're hungry to play. Starters, backups, scratch and claw, and fighting to get better and to play and contribute. It's a fun team to coach.
Fun team to watch as well. I do think there is the caveat that we just don't know how good their schedule has been to this point. And again, I think there's several teams you could say this about in the Big Ten, but all you can do is play the teams on your schedule, and they haven't just beaten them, they have absolutely throttled them.
Yeah, I think the great news is Blake Corum feels the same way, right?
Right. That was encouraging to hear.
Yeah, that was real encouraging. They are hitting on all cylinders, but they haven't been challenged, and the entire team needs to be challenged, but JJ especially, in my opinion, needs to be challenged because a quarterback has to go through adversity. How's he going to react when there's pressure on him? How's he going to react when there's certain situations and he's in the run game and he's trying to make a decision on whether to give or to keep the ball? He just hasn't been through that. Wisconsin's, perfect. Wisconsin's their most competitive opponent, probably not one of the top 3 teams in the conference so far, so it's a good next step, but it's always big when it's a conference game.
But I think it will be really competitive for JJ in this game because he's going to get looks that he's not familiar with.
Maryland next, by the way.
When they get
Michigan.
to that, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm thinking Ohio State,
when you start to talk about seeing things that you're not accustomed to as a quarterback, what's your progression going to be like? How quickly are you going to want to pull it down just to run, even though if you just step up in the pocket, that receiver is going to have an opportunity to come open. So as this season continues to build for Michigan, we're going to continue to learn a lot more about their team. But what I like about it, and we've talked about, just how many people have played, the amount of players that are playing is great for them. And I think it's going to continue to bode well for them as they move down the road as well, because now you have young players and guys that haven't got as much time that have it on film and have gone out and competed and had success running different plays at different positions.
And now I've got the schedule right. Maryland's improved on defense, so this will be the best defense by far that they have.
And then they go to Iowa after that, so that'll be a challenging defense as well. And we were talking about this on Tailgate. They had played 112 players coming into this game. Haven't gone through the participation report to see if that number actually went up. Just to give you a perspective, 7 different players attempted a pass for Michigan on Saturday. So, again, we'll see. I think we all have the same feeling that Blake Corum has, that they're probably pretty good, but we'll know
Gotta
more
wait, right?
here going forward. But the Wolverines, a very convincing 3-0.
It's almost kind of even tough to talk about it publicly, but when you have a situation where you know that it's death by inches, you know you can get it fixed, you got a team that'll fight, for me that's encouraging. Because those are the type of teams that can rebound and improve. You can end up having a really good football team when you got guys that will fight, and you just need to understand how important execution is. I mean, when you use execution in every little detail, every single guy on every play in all three phases, that's what we lack today, and I'm confident we can get those things cleaned up.
Hard to do going on the road. This is always a tough road trip for Big Ten teams. That's the 13th straight game that Michigan State has lost on the road in Pac-12 stadiums. They haven't won one since 1957 against Cal, and they just kind of dug too big a hole in this game. They tried to climb out of it for a while there, but this game was decided pretty early.
And I think the travel has something to do with the slow start. I mean, it took them a while to get into the game. They rushed for 42 yards. Yep. Washington had over 500 yards total yards. But how about Mel? His team's going to see the press conferences, right? You're talking to the press, you're talking to the fans, but you're also talking to your team. So what do they say? We have a tough team. And if you have a tough team, then you can fix everything else. And that's kind of been his MO since he's been in East Lansing. He makes them tough, he tells them it's tough, and then he works everything from that point, and that's where he is right now. It's execution because we're already tough.
Right, and talks about execution, 3rd down, 7 to 16. It's a little bit of an issue. Penalties, are right there, 7 for 60. So it's about them being able to stay on the field and being able to get off the field when they're on defense to be able to slow people down. But you talk about the 42 yards rushing. That's part of the issue. When you can't control the line of scrimmage, and we talked earlier in the week, for them to have success today, they needed to be able to run the football, and they weren't able to do it. They had to throw it around a lot, and that's just not necessarily a recipe for success when you're on the road.
They had run the ball pretty well this year. Did not happen in this game. 1.4 yards per carry. Got to get it figured out pretty quick, guys. They got Minnesota next week. That is going to be a really,
a fun one there now.
Really
physical game.
Good game for sure. Check it out, Minnesota and Colorado. Mo Ibrahim getting the hug pregame from P.J. Fleck. It was another huge game for Mo. 5-yard touchdown puts him up 7-0. And then how about this run, fellas? This is hard-nosed.
Puts that foot in the ground and keeps the legs churning. I mean, you know what? His little buddies helped him get into the end zone.
40th career rushing touchdown, ties the school record held by Darrell Thompson. 49-7 Gophers. Here's P.J. Fleck.
I know Mo. He had 200-some yards, and we pulled him after the first drive of the third quarter. I mean, he's something else. I think one of the best runs I've seen. And that one, I have these pictures in my office, and when some of you have been in there and you see them, there are these still shots of moments and memories from either like people's personal life of what they overcame that had to do with football or something that we teach culturally. And you saw that push the pile. That's what our program's about. If you could take a video and say, what is Gopher football? Take that one.
Really an exceptional young guy. I mean, you think about that Achilles injury last year in the opener against Ohio State, the way he has bounced back is significant and inspiring. And this team, again, they have not played a great schedule either, but they appear to be very good.
Yeah, and they're always playing the same way. They're 100 miles an hour. Mo is perfect for this offense. So is Tanner Morgan, and that complements the offensive line. They had 500 yards total offense. But the difference is they had at least 3 explosive plays in the pass game. And that's because that's what they wanted to work on this year. That was the missing piece to the offense. So the numbers are big. The explosive plays are in the pass game are big.
Yeah, the timing in the pass plays, I think, has gotten back to what we were accustomed to seeing a few years ago. But I want to go back to that first touchdown that Mo got, the explosion that he had. It was outstanding. Talk about coming off an Achilles injury. the way he exploded through the hole and scored the touchdown was really outstanding. And he's obviously 100%. And when he's running the way he's running, and that offensive line, they're going to be able to make those big explosive plays down the field that they're going to need.
3 straight wins, guys, by 38 or more points. Their longest streak since 17. 19.
17. Where have you been there? Come on, DiNardo.
I'm waiting for a question about it.
Not your first rodeo.
Wisconsin and New Mexico State pick it up early in the first quarter. This guy can run the football a little bit, too.
Everybody else playing
Allen.
defense.
Yeah.
Just a question.
No, did not really appear to be in the screen at that point. Allen, 3 touchdowns. And how about the defense? Muma Meta rumbles down to the 2. Allen would score again. It was 35-0 at the break. And why not throw it around a little bit? 355 passing yards. Their second most of the Paul Chryst era. Graham Mertz to Skylar Bell there. 66-7. Here's Rick Pizzo with the winners.
Paul, offensively, got to stretch the field a little bit today. What did you feel about the combination between Graham and multiple wide receivers today?
No, I thought that part was good, and I think if we're going to be the best we can be there, it's going to take a lot of guys. And I think he's been doing that where you're able to spread it around, and so that part was good.
Bell, Ingram, maybe guys that a lot of non-Wisconsin fans didn't know a lot about, showed some serious skill today. What's that wide receiver room look like right now as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, biggest thing about that group, man, they're just fun to play. Fun to play with. They have swag during the week and then they show it on game day. But the biggest thing with them, man, is whenever they got a one-on-one, I know I'm gonna put it up there and they're gonna make a play. So as a quarterback, that gives you tremendous confidence.
Seems like things are coming along in that passing game, Jerry.
Yeah, no doubt. Mertz was 80% to throwing the ball today. I mean, that was really impressive. I mean, this is another team that has traditionally run the ball, and this year they're trying to complement it more and more with the pass game, and they're having a lot of success doing it.
Been a while since he's been 80% talking about completions. Yeah. It doesn't matter who you're playing, to be able to be at that type of completion rate is important. But this team is still running the football, and that's what they have to be able to do defensively. We saw them pick back up to where they were a couple of weeks ago, and that's what it's about. They're going to need that defense to be able to create some short fields for this offense.
The 66 points, the most of the Paul Chryst era, and again, that huge showdown coming up with Ohio State next week. Maryland hosting SMU. We were expecting some fireworks in this game, and it was a fun one. Went right down to the wire. Late second quarter, Leah Tungabailoa, Rakim Jarrett. 214 passing yards for Leah. Maryland goes on top 17-13. To the third, we're tied at 20. Tanner Mordecai to Moochie Davis. SMU's got some talent. Goes on top 27-20. But check out this play by Leah. Lobbing it over to Corey Dyches for the touchdown. Final scoring play of the game as the Terps, Mike Loxley's team, still unbeaten, 34-27.
We've had three great opportunities. We had an early road game against an out-of-conference opponent. We had one of the better teams and not in our conference come in here and give us a hell of a showing. Again, I got a lot of respect for the SMU coaches, their team, and but for us, I respect winning. I'm going to enjoy it for the next 24 hours. We'll get on the film. Obviously, there's a lot of things to get corrected, and it starts with me getting it corrected. But really looking forward to us as we enter into league play. The opponent doesn't matter. It's still going to be the things I keep talking about. It's Terps versus Terps, and if we can handle – we won a game with how we played today. Imagine if we can get that stuff cleaned up, how good we could be.
And there is some stuff to clean up. I mean, he's clearly talking about the penalties. They had 141 penalty yards, which is really just a staggering number. They gave up more than 500 yards, but you know what? They're 3-0.
They're 3-0 in the 500 yards. Fast-paced offense.
Yeah, I mean SMU's going to put up yards on people.
But they only scored 7 points in the second half.
Right.
I mean, that Brian Williams has brought that defense along. I mean, seriously, 7 points. If it's last year or the year before, they don't win the game. This defense put them in position for Talia to do that magic at the end.
And they're going to give up some yardage. When you talk about playing an opponent that ran 96 plays versus your 61. That defense was a little stretched toward the end, but they found a way to pull out a victory, and that has a lot to do with what they're able to do offensively.
Back-to-back 3-0 starts, first time since 1979, 1980. Locks got this thing headed in the right direction again. Huge test next week as they head to the Big House to take on the Wolverines. Indiana and Western Kentucky. Let's go straight to the fourth quarter. Let's go straight to the final minute of this game. Connor Bazelak to Cam Camper. Indiana within 2 at 30-28. So, of course, you got to go for 2. And Bazelak finds the converted quarterback, Donovan McCulley. Indiana ties it at 30, sends it to OT, or do they? Western Kentucky, one last chance. Braden Narveson, no good. And so, yes, an extra session for Tom Allen's team. And in the OT, Charles Campbell from 51 yards out. And Indiana wins it in overtime, 33-30. Tom Allen's team, 3-0. The coach with Crystal Ridge.
Coach, you're now 3-0. Wow, what a game, from the touchdown and the two-point conversion to force overtime to the block field goal to the winning field goal. What can you tell us about the relentlessness of this team?
Well, they got a bunch of grit. They just don't quit. You know, it was ugly at times, and both sides of the ball did some good things and did some bad things, but we're still growing and learning. Got a lot of new faces. They're still figuring some things out. But bottom line is, you find a way to win, and that's what our guys did, so I'm so proud of them.
There are some peaks and valleys for the defense. What's the biggest lesson they can walk away with today?
Well, you just keep playing. And we say this, you play 60 minutes and beyond. And that's what our guys know. They know that. This game is not over till that final whistle sounds. And defensively, we kept bowing up in the red zone. We kept forcing them to kick field goals. That ended up being the difference in the game.
Another win for Bazelak must feel good. What did you like out of him today?
He's just got so much resiliency as well, and he's just poised. He makes those big throws when we need him. I have no idea how many yards he threw for, but I knew still it was enough.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Elio, thank you.
This is a resilient bunch, fellas. They're 3-0. They've trailed in the second half, Howard, of all 3 of these games.
They really have, but they continue to fight, just as their coach just described. And I think I go back to the piece we ran earlier today, and we had players really talking about how much Tom Allen means to them, because he truly cares about them as individuals, and that they're willing to do whatever it takes to go out and win football games. And you continue to see that on full display when Indiana takes the field, because they're games that, it looks like, oh boy, we're in trouble here, but they continue to fight.
Yeah, this was a game I think we all expected could be tough. Western Kentucky is a good program. They throw it around a lot. In fact, if I'm Tom, I'm going to have a little bit of a conversation with the defensive play caller, because he gave up 545 yards, and he can do that when he gets home.
Looks in the mirror and looks to himself, yes.
Offensively, Walt Bell continues to be a really good hire. I mean, at times they have trouble running the ball because that's the nature of that offense. But again, Tom calling the defense and Walt calling the offense has been a really good combination. But, man, they're a tough team. Yeah. I mean, to put themselves in position to lose in all 3 games and then win all 3, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and again, Western Kentucky is a good team for its level. They had won 10 of their last 11 games coming in. To your point, we knew this would be a challenging game. Again, you got some things you got to clean up. But at the end of the day,
my only issue would be if Coach Allen goes to the mirror and he starts to talk to himself. If he comes up with answers while he's in the mirror, then I think we may have a few issues.
Some affirmations. It's a good win. They got there with the defense. They held Temple to 49 rushing yards. It's pretty clear that's where this team is going to hang its hat, because offense is a work in progress.
Right. This is the ugly win part of the show, right? Indiana, now Rutgers. I think what Greg Schiano does best, and maybe as well as anybody, is he puts game plans together that are complementary to one another. That's why you can win a game without scoring an offensive touchdown. And he manages the game complementing offense and his defense, because he's always cut and pasting either part of the game plan or a call here or a fake call. He's really a good game day manager.
You talk about cutting and pasting, and some of that is what he needs to do on the offensive side, right, to try to manufacture some yards to keep their offense on the field and keep the defense so they can get some rest, so they can come on and make the big plays that they were able to make throughout the course of a game. But it's right. I mean, you have to just find ways to win games, and sometimes it's ugly like it was today, but they found a way, and that's the most important part.
Just 59 passing yards, about 3.5 yards per play. The quarterback situation remains a work in progress, but defense is awfully good.
Yeah.
Every game they've held their opponent under 300 yards. You can win a lot of games that way. And
game of passion, but you also have to have restraint, right? You just have to, because you talk about penalties, all that does is hurt your team. So you have to be able to control yourself in those situations in this emotional game that they play. So I understand the penalty yardage. You just can't have that and expect to win football games. And that's something that you can get cleaned up, because that's just about managing your emotions. So I think whether it's the coach, whether it's the players, everyone has to be able to manage their emotions as they go through this process.
You said 138 yards penalty, is that what you said? Mm-hmm. I mean, how do you expect to win a game? I mean, it's pretty clear.
Right.
Yeah, and everyone has to realize, the players and coaches, but they'll regret it. But my guess is it'll be lesson learned, just a tough lesson.
And the issue is they've lost a lot of close games, right? I mean, they're 11-18 in one-score games under Jeff Brom. This is the difference. This is how you go from being a good team, and I think we all think they're a good team, to being a great team. That's how you become a great. You just don't make those mistakes. Elsewhere, not nearly as close. In Lincoln, Nebraska, Mickey Joseph making his debut as the interim coach for the Huskers. It started really well.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that, too.
Casey Thompson to Trey Palmer, 32 yards. Huskers up 7-0. Here we go, or not. A little trickery here from the Sooners, already up 21-7. Marcus Major on the receiving end, 28-7 OU as they poured it on, winning it by the final 49-14. Eric Gray with the touchdown there. 19th straight loss against ranked opponents for Nebraska, and look kind of similar, frankly. A tough week to be thrown into the situation for Mickey Joseph. You're playing a really good team and just didn't look ready.
Yeah, and Mickey did, I believe, everything he could do. I don't know that any of us knew that this team, Oklahoma, was this good a team. So it was tough duty today. This coming week, they have bye week. Best thing that could happen to the program.
You mentioned earlier about the coaches, taking the brunt of the blame for this, and that's what he did. He stepped to the podium and said, "I've got to do a better job of getting this team prepared." And they get that bye week. They're going to need that time to get away and probably decompress from all the stress that's going on that they've gone through for the last 7 days or so.
Seventh loss in their last 8 meetings with OU. Again, the bye before they pick up the schedule again against Indiana. Northwestern and Southern Illinois. The Wildcats coming off that narrow loss to Duke. Evan Holt put them up 14-7 in the second quarter, but Northwestern just flat out did not play well in this game. 4 turnovers. Helinski is sacked there, and the Salukis recover already up 7. That was desperation time for Northwestern. Nick Baker sneaks it in for the touchdown, and the Wildcats fall for the 8th time in their last 9 games. This is a team that lost by 35 to Incarnate Word. They also lost to Southeast Missouri State. What do you say?
Well, you mentioned the turnovers. That's one thing. Quarterback play wasn't very good. But when you're playing defense and you give up 31 points to Southern Illinois, and you're a Big Ten school and you're Northwestern, I mean, to me, that's the biggest problem. Right. The quarterback might have a bad day, but when the whole unit doesn't play well against the team that they have better talent than, that's a problem.
Yeah, but this is what we've been seeing this year, really going back to last year when we talk about this defense. And last week, it was getting off to the slow start in the first half, and they rebounded, but this time they couldn't, to a Southern Illinois team that just was finding ways to be able to move the ball up and down the field on it.
14th loss in their last 20 September games. We've seen them have some really bad Septembers that have led to pretty good seasons, including one where they didn't win a non-conference game and they ended up winning the Big Ten West. This feels different. Maybe it won't be. Miami of Ohio next week for the Wildcats. Desperately need a win there to get some confidence before they head in to conference play. Nevada and Iowa, an epic battle at Kinnick Stadium. Pick it up in the first quarter. Caleb Johnson gone. 40 yards for the touchdown. Iowa up 7-0. The very next Iowa drive, Spencer Petras to Arlen Bruce. This is a thing of beauty. Ooh. The Hawks exceeded their season yardage total coming in this one. What made it epic? Well, the fact that there were multiple weather delays. It took about 7 hours for this game to be played. Johnson getting it going again as Iowa does cruise. 27-0 is the final.